Steel cable is one of the most difficult sword forging materials to obtain in the Apache sword forging competition. It has always been an obsession that cannot be eliminated by all the contestants. But today, this man not only forged a sword from a giant steel cable, but also frankly said that this cable was removed from the aircraft carrier USS Asian Hour. Normal cables are not worthy of comparison. To prove that he was not lying, he also bragged about the image of his son working on the aircraft carrier. He got this cable because his son's boss wanted him to forge a Navy sword. Very good. How can the steel cable be removed from the aircraft carrier, Roy? The first thing before starting to forge is to completely clean the impurities and grease on the outside of the cable. He had to remove the oil wire installed inside raw. However, looking at the rusty part of this cable, it can be seen that it has been used for quite a long time. So, after twisting the cable steel, he will pour acetone to clean the grease. When it is completely clean, he welded the two ends of the cable tightly to avoid it cracking raw like a fake weapon after heating. He carried out the important step of forging the steel cable. This step is mainly to compress and tighten the structure of the cable to prepare for the stretching and shaping process. Later, it can be seen that each time he twisted, there are many layers of oxidation that come off raw. If the steel is accidentally twisted, there will be cracks that affect the forging of the knife. When sure that the steel billet has been compressed tightly, he put it on the press to continue shaping. He said this step has only one key point, which is to keep the cable at a high temperature. Only at a high temperature can it soften raw and be easily stretched. Even during this process, he still compresses it so that it does not lose its shape. After the steel billet is stretched, he applies the method of segmented stamping. That is, heating and forging at the same time to prevent cracks appear during the cold stamping process. It is said that forging swords from aircraft carrier steel cables is considered a difficult forging. But he has been an expert for several years, so although the material is difficult to use, his skills are still redundant. After stamping the steel into shape, he passes it through a steel rolling mill to widen raw in preparation for planting the steel blocks. He also uses a cylindrical die to further lengthen raw because swords are usually 56 centimeters or more in length. Forging a sword that is somewhat short from such a strange material is of course a bit difficult, so he has to be very careful to lengthen this steel cable. Then he prepares to merge the two steel cables with the 80 CRV2 steel plate, of course before stacking them on top of each other. Grinding and cleaning the contact surface is indispensable. After completely cleaning, he welds them together into a block and puts them in the furnace to bake. Anyway, this good material, after all kinds of pressing and pressing, only two pieces remain. If it is damaged, I'm afraid the boss of the aircraft carrier's son will come to visit him. After confirming that the steel billet has completely merged, continue to stretch Roem. In the process, to increase the formation speed, he uses the steel rolling mill over and over. Finally, he forged raw a steel bar nearly 1 meter long and decided to turn the tail of the steel bar into a sword hilt. To suit the requirements of a sword, my brother even borrowed a sword, and, based on the standards of that sword, to make the blade, to reduce the weight of the samurai sword, he drilled holes into the body of the sword, then used a welder to heat the hilt while holding a hammer to create a curve for the sword. After forming the rough shape, let the sword cool, and the most important step is completed. Recognize that this expert's sword forging equipment is extremely complete. The hardness of the steel is quite good then. After cooling, he personally inserted the sword cleaning accessory. It cannot be made in the normal way. It loses its value like that. Wait for him to finish decorating. Let's see the final assembled product. Under the sword, is this the characteristic pattern of the steel wire on the aircraft carrier? It gives a special feeling compared to the usual steel cables.